Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone here today and our viewing audience to the August 26, 2018 meeting of the City of Davenport Zoning Board of Adjustment. Your participation in city government is appreciated and welcome. If you have a pager or cell phone, please turn it off now. Even in silent mode, it may interfere with the room's electronics. My name is Kathleen Hart, chairman of this committee, and the members present today are, to my immediate left, Jim Reistroffer, our vice chair. To my far left, did I say that backwards? My far right is Judith Lee, and to my immediate right is Carrie Strayhall. Chris Woodard is excused today. Present today from staff, we have Scott Copes and Mallory Hoyt from legal. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is a 5-member judicatory board established by state law. We're appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council to serve without compensation for a 5-year term. We normally meet twice each month to hear appeals involving hardships from strict application of current zoning laws. We may also grant variances and rule on a variety of discretionary permits. Now, we have no old business. Excuse me, before we get to that, minutes. Consideration of the minutes from April 12th, 2018 meeting. Any corrections needed? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That's approved. Now, we have no old business. We have one item of new business on today's agenda. This is an application from Robert Bazell. Is Mr. Bazell here? Great. This is request HOP 18-01 of Robert Bazell at 4323 Ridgewood Court for a home occupation permit to operate a massage therapy practice out of the residence. The property is zone R2, low-density dwelling district. Section 17.48.010 of the zoning ordinance allows the Board of Adjustment to grant a home occupation permit in an R district. Scott, if you would please present the city.
Scott Copes, Community Planning. So this is a home occupation permit. It's not a special use permit. It does not run with the land. It runs with the applicant. Once the applicant moves or decides not to run the operation, it ceases to exist at that location. Here's a photo of the site. It's a court. At the end here is a cul-de-sac. The property is kind of on the north or northeast side of the street. This is the driveway in which clients would be parking. We've notified 14 adjacent neighbors within 200 feet. 3 are in opposition, and today we received an email. They said they're not in opposition, but they have comments and kind of concerns, so I grouped it with the opposition. It's the last page of what you have there in front of you. You were emailed all of those, but that last one didn't get emailed till late today, so you might not have seen that one. Here is a map of where the comments are coming from. On either side is a comment opposed, and there's one opposed across from the rear yard. And then Barb Lester, who has just had some comments, not necessarily opposed. The last one in your packet there, she's living over here at the end of the cul-de-sac. And we also had two comments to people that opposed, and then they removed them. So these are what I have for comments and oppositions at this time. Staff recommendation: if properly conditioned, this permit will meet our requirements, and these are our standard conditions that we have on home occupations. One that kind of differs is the hours of operation. Hours of operation are proposed from Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. I did not mention, and the petitioner can mention, that they kind of anticipate 2 to 4 max clients per day, depending on what kind of treatments are done. It takes about 1 to 2 hours per treatment. So the permit would be valid for a period of 1 year. Renewal will be based upon complaints and or comments from neighbor property owners. The petitioner operates on an appointment-only basis. The driveway shall be used for client parking, and hours in operation shall be Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. Any comments or questions by the board, I should say?
Any questions from the board? Judith?
Yes. Is this the point where you would
address some of the comments that came in from Barbara Lester?
I don't know how you would want to handle this. I think we're not really to the point of asking for comment in favor or opposition. That's probably where you might want to handle those kind of comments.
Okay, the first one had to do with the ability to enforce the terms of the permit, and the second one had to do with who has the right for comment, whether they're on or not on.
Right. Anybody in the city can comment. There's nothing that says people cannot comment. They can be here and present, or they can comment via email. It doesn't have to be strictly a deed holder. It doesn't have to be someone within 200 feet. The 200 feet is the courtesy notice that we do, but anybody can comment. As far as how it's enforced, typically how it works is if there's if the conditions of the permit are not being met and we're notified by adjacent neighbors or someone who notices they're not being met, and if we can get some sort of visual evidence of that, or if we observe it ourselves, then we would bring that forward to the board and there'd be a rehearing. At that time, the board could either modify the conditions, maybe put them on probation, or they could revoke it. Let's say they put them on probation for a while and they still continue not to meet the conditions. They would come back and they would be revoked. At that point, if they still continue to operate, there would be municipal infractions. If they still continue to operate, then we could request equitable relief from the court, and it would go down the court path, and they would be physically restrained from doing it. So that's kind of how it operates.
And these conditions here would be a part of the approval, yes?
Right. When we approve the application, typically, and actually with all home occupations, these are the standard conditions. And so when you vote for the approval, let's say, for example, you voted to vote approval and then with staff conditions, so all of these conditions would be enforceable. And so if we receive a complaint, and then the complaint would have to address either the general nature of how home occupations operate or these specific conditions.
Could I ask one more question? Looking at the emails that came in and then the ones that were withdrawn, I think there was some confusion regarding whether this was a zoning change in a residential area or a home occupation. And if I understand right, and correct me if I'm wrong, the ones that were withdrawn because they understood it would not be a zoning change. Is that correct?
That was kind of my feeling. They thought that the permit would run with the land. That's not true either. And nothing that we sent out to the neighborhood said it was a rezoning. It stated on it home occupation permit. But
it's easy to misunderstand.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole process isn't laid out in the notice we have. It's a one side notice, and on the other side is the map. We don't have multiple pages explaining the whole code and the whole procedure.
So I thought it might be important to get this on the record.
Certainly.
Before. Okay. I think those are my key.
Good. Thank you, Judith. Anyone else? Jim.
Scott, obviously this is a business where you deal with people. And is it a requirement by the state that this business or this individual, when he deals with people that he does adjustments for massages, have to have a license by the state? And does the city require to get this permit that he has a license to do this?
That would be kind of a business licensing question. The business license department would be able to address some of those issues. But as far as the zoning is concerned, we look at about the use of the property. Is this property suitable for the type of use? And so that's what we're looking at.
So you don't know whether he'd have to apply for
My understanding is that these people do have to be permitted by the state, but
Right.
I'm not an expert in that area.
Okay. Thank you. I will get to him when.
All right. Judith.
Just one more question. If I read this right, there would be one person at a time. It appears that there is plenty of parking within the driveway, because I know some of the concern was parking on the street.
Correct.
And there would be one or maybe one additional vehicle at the residence while one is finishing and one is leaving, so it'd be a very short period of time, and the driveway can hold 2 vehicles?
Correct. Most of our home occupations operate that way. To my knowledge, we've never had a complaint that there's two vehicles at a time too frequently. And in the case if there was a slight overlap, yeah, you're correct. There is enough room for two spaces off street in the private driveway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. Mr. Bazell, if you could come up to the dais and give us your name, address, and please present your case and your request.
Name's Robert Bazell, live at 4323 Ridgewood Court, Davenport, Iowa. Applied for a home occupancy because I don't really plan on working all that hard. I can get a job tomorrow, but I've been looking forward to retirement my whole life. This is just something to do, you know, to not get too bored in it, and I'm really good at it. And, you know, like I say, it's just something I wanted to do part-time. I have no intention of working an 8-hour day, you know, and if you're at all familiar with massage, I put a lot into mine. I could not do more than 5 a day if I wanted, at least not overtime, and most therapists can't. My goal is, you know, maybe 2 or 3 a day. That's about all. Let's see. And yes, to answer your question, you do have to have a license from the state.
Sure, please,
Yeah,
Jim.
Mr. Bazell, tell us a little bit about your training and how long you've been doing it, and give us a little information about you.
For the last 26 years, I was an over-the-road truck driver. I retired from that October 28th. I started school, or August 28th. I started school August 30th. I graduated from school March 4th. Took my boards April 2nd. Was actually just issued my license today from the state
What license is that?
for massage therapy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the information.
And I've been working at the school clinic since December, so.
Thank you.
Carrie.
So just a quick question, and I'm fairly familiar with massage, and what you're talking about is, just for clarification, so people worry about, maybe there'll be 2 people there at a time. Probably not.
Probably not.
Pretty hard to do 2 people at a time unless you're doing so much on one person and then jumping to another room. So I just want to
Yeah.
clarify that's probably not going to happen.
No, and the room I've got set up's only got one table in
Okay,
it,
so at the most 1 car at a time.
like she said, I mean, one might show up before the other one leaves, but I mean, it'll be momentarily.
Okay, so, and 3 a day, hardly a traffic jam.
Hardly. I think a lot of the concern in the neighborhood too is we had a new neighbor across the street a year or so ago, and they've got a pool, and from Memorial Day to Labor Day, there is quite a bit of traffic, you know, parking on the street, and it makes it really difficult to get in and out of my driveway as well as everybody else's. You know, and like I said, it's not going to add to it because they're going to be in my driveway. So I don't really see where that's an issue.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Judith.
Sorry.
Yes, Judith.
Should we call him back?
Oh, please, yes.
I'm sorry. And there won't be any signs or anything evident?
It's not my intention, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're permitted a 1 square foot sign, but you know, unless you're standing at the door reading it, that's not going to do you any good anyway. And I had thought about that. It might be nice to put one, you know, by the door so they know they're at the right place before they ring the doorbell, but I mean, it's not really necessary. So.
Thank you, Judith. Any other questions from the board members? Very fine. If there's anybody in the audience who wanted to speak in favor or in opposition, would you please step up to the podium, to the microphone? Give us your name and address and then your comments, please.
Okay, my name is Kenneth Oler, and I live at 4315, right next to Bob, just on the other side of his residence. I just saw there. It's not a very good picture, but I have a picture on my cell phone. If you want one from the other view, it might give you a little bit perspective. Right, where that car parked is, yeah, I live at that residence. But I'm concerned with the traffic and the parking. That's going to be on that, it's a dead-end court, it's a very quiet court. So you not only have traffic going into the court, you got traffic going out of the court. The mailbox situation is, my mailbox is really close to his property, and then his mailbox is also there. You can see his probably about a little off to the right, and then mine is a little bit further down. My concern is that people will not want to park on a slanted driveway that's sloped quite a bit. And particularly in like bad weather, it's icy, snowy, people won't want to park there, even if they are indicated that they should park there. There's a good chance that they won't park there. And they'll park on the street. And as you can see, the mailboxes are very close there. Also, what you don't see in this particular photo is that the residents here, just off to the right, they have a vehicle that's been parked there like all the time. And if somebody was parked in that sloped driveway, they're going to park out. There's a good chance that they'll hit that car that's being parked there. Which, by the way, that just happened like last night. On my neighbor on the other side. Maybe also might be beneficial if we can pull up the other photo that had the overhead view.
Scott, if you'd assist.
You want to switch back and forth this remote here. Okay. So the other one's back to the left too, and here's a laser pointer as well.
Okay, thank you. Bob's residence, of course, is the one in that red there. Most of the residents that would be concerned with this are the ones that are actually on the court. As you see, there's some that are not on the court. My house is on 4315, and you say they're going to have to drive by my residence, both getting there and leaving. And again, I think it'll be difficult parking two cars in that driveway. The first customer could come up there and easily park, but if he's not parked way over to the side, the customer who's going to be coming for the next visit, he might not be able to park there. In which case he would have to park on the street where there are mailboxes. This is the mail routes are such that you have to drive. The mailman drives to the mailboxes. He doesn't walk and go up to the house and that type of thing.
Any other comments? Did you have any other comments?
I do not.
Very fine. Judith, did you have a question for this gentleman?
I have two questions, sir. You expressed concern about a car parking across the street all the time that's not related to this issue?
Yes.
Directly related, but you say it's indirectly, and that somebody...
Just about see where the W is? Mm-hmm. That's about where it parks.
Across the street.
It's across the
Excuse me, Mr. Bazell. Mr. Bazell, we can have you up for a further comment, but we need to kind of restrict the conversation for the time being. Thanks.
So that's a concern, but that neighbor did not express that particular concern regarding this issue. Is that correct, Scott? Did you receive anything from the neighbor that parks the car in the street all the time?
I'm assuming the vehicle is owned by the property there underneath the word wood, that property owner did not protest.
Okay. And if we could go back to the photograph, because you expressed the concern about the mailboxes. Could we go back to that photograph that was the oblique?
Sorry. Well, I'm going in the wrong direction. Sorry.
I suspect that the mailbox down by your car that's parked on the street is your mailbox?
Actually, I got a better one on my phone.
But is that mailbox yours, the one that's by your car?
Yeah, that's not my car.
By that car. I'm sorry, excuse me.
have
I
no
misunderstood.
idea. I have no idea.
Okay, but that's your mailbox?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any reason to believe that someone would park that far down the street if they were going to park in the street, that it would get in the way of your mailbox?
I do, because they'd have to be parked such that they don't block both mailboxes.
Okay. Okay. So your primary concern then is just parking on the street?
Yeah. Parking and the additional traffic that this will cause into the court and out of the court.
And could you please explain to me how that relates? You expressed the concern about the folks with the pool, the swimming pool? Is that a...
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, never mind. I forgot. Okay, then I'm done. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Did you have any other comments? Did anyone have any more questions for this gentleman? Carrie?
Not for this gentleman.
Oh, very fine, thank you.
Carrie.
Just a question for Mr. Bazell.
And if, yeah, you could come up to the microphone so we can get your comments recorded, we appreciate that.
So a lot of these concerns to me are really not warranted, but can you assure your neighbors and this gentleman that when you have a client, you're going to tell that client that they have to park in the driveway?
I will, and as long as, like I said, with the swimming pool issue, I mean, if they've got the whole cul-de-sac already, which last summer they did, I mean, they actually parked across my driveway
They
numerous
parked
times.
across your driveway?
Yes.
And I
There were
suggest-
several times I had to go have someone move their car so I could get out.
Okay, yeah,
But,
'cause that's
I
not,
mean, I'm not going to cause any more issue than what they already do. And the vehicle you talked about that's always parked across the street, that is the homeowner of the home that has the pool that has
okay.
all-
I'm just trying to
Right, no, I understand.
assure
Mhm.
your neighbors that you're going to do the right thing. You have the business. If you're going to tell somebody to park in the driveway, if somebody comes to your house and they're parked on the street, then they need to get back in their car and park in the driveway, and that's going to eliminate any of those problems. And
Right, and that will be the situation.
okay, yeah, okay. Thank you.
And if I may add to that while I have you here, for your neighbor's benefit as well, to be clear that the onus is upon you in order to maintain that license to ensure that that restriction is adhered to, that there are no patrons of your massage business parking on the street. And if there are, if that's not managed, then your neighbor or someone else could file a complaint, and that could complicate matters for your home-based business.
Correct.
Right.
But that doesn't imply if I have a few people over for a barbecue or something, they can't park.
This
on
is
the street.
related to the business and during
Well,
those business hours.
I understand, but I mean, it's in my home, so if I had a barbecue, they might say it's the business when it's not.
That can be dealt with.
Okay.
We
All
know
right.
that people live there as well.
Sure.
This is as it applies to the business.
No, that's no problem.
Okay. Judith?
And just to further clarify that, the recommendation of staff that would be conditioning the permit says off-street parking shall be used for client parking. It's
Correct.
not a may, it's a shall.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that that was absolutely clear,
Correct.
that that's a condition.
And he's right about the slope of the driveway, but if you come to the top of the driveway, it's level. That's where I always park because it's not on the slope. So,
Any other comments or questions from the board members? And is there anybody else in the audience? I don't believe so, that wanted to speak. No, we have staff. Okay, thanks very much. If there's no more discussion, we would entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
To clarify, is that moving with the recommendations made by staff?
All the recommendations and
Very fine. We have the motion and the second. Would you call the vote, please?
Lee,
Yes?
Strayhall,
Yep.
Rice-Stroffer,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes, your permit is approved. Good luck to you in your retirement. If there's nothing else for today, we have nothing on the agenda. If nobody else has anything, I believe Jim does.
Every year we go through this. Can we put on the agenda next time, Scott, election of officers? Because every year we have to do that, don't we?
I will verify that we need to do it, but I thought we already did that for this year, this calendar year.
Did you?
Not everybody was here at the time, but we did do it.
Okay. As long as we don't get in
So,
trouble.
but yeah, you can double check on.
I can double check. Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Any other business? We would entertain we call that a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn?
A second. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.